Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, a local minister at the Prince George's Church of Christ, located at 7800 Central Avenue in Landover, Maryland. Throughout the week, we focused on a version of Gary Chapman's 5 love languages. And today we're going to look at how do you determine love languages? It's a question that warrants an answer. But keep in mind, according to Sarah Gottfried is a Harvard-educated medical doctor who specializes in hormones and the role that hormones play in the human body. But Dr. Gottfried believes that in relationships that are troubled, the hormones of the individual are also out of alignment. Now, this is consistent with the 5 love languages, and I'll share that with you shortly. Dr. Gottfried has found that learning to understand each other's love language is one of the best ways to get hormones back in balance. Now, Dr. Gottfried discovered that love requires the understanding of how important a change of thinking leads to a change in behavior, which moves one into accepting the slightly exhausting reaching into the will to fulfill the love language of the other person. In essence, what Dr. Gottfried is saying, people have found out it takes energy to reach inside of oneself into their own will to fulfill the love language, not of themselves, but of another person. And if an individual is willing to do that, in the process, the hormones are realigned in the giver and the receiver in the relationship. In other words, the conflict, the contention that is also exhausting, it begins to come down so that the giver of what is being asked for and the receiver of what is being asked for in the relationship leads to an internal quiet and a new sense of fulfillment for the entire relationship. She may be on to something, and this is why. When we look at the giving of love, how you give love to others does not necessarily equate with how you receive love. So one of the challenges in relationships is trying to determine what is the love language of the person external to me. Because if that's not figured out, we're going to make every effort, and some of this is deliberate, honest, sincere efforts to love, to give love, to share love with others, not based on their need of love, but how we determine to fulfill their need of love, whether that be physical touch. It may be the way you receive love, but giving of gifts may be the way you need to give love to others. Acts of service may be the way you need to give love to others. Affirmation of others may be the way you need to give love to others. Quality time with others may be the way you need to give love to others, or physical touch may be the way. You need to give love. And this would be the most comfortable language for you and your sharing with another person, because this is the one that's most familiar with you. So if your love language, your personal love language is physical touch, you may say, well, that's all that I have to give. That's all I'm going to give. Well, physical touch is the most comfortable for you to give, because now you may be giving physical touch to a person who needs physical touch. But what if that person's love language is not the same as your love language? That's where the hormones get out of whack, is because now literally you're trying to fit a square peg, you, into a round hole. And that's going to cause an escalation in tension, unnecessary tension, I might say, because it is still exhausting for the relationship. So why not determine what the other person's love language is? The simplest way is to determine the love language of the other person. The simplest way to determine that is to just ask them. Just ask the individual, which of the five do they enjoy receiving the most? See how simple that is? It's not complicated. Just ask. Ask the individual, what do you really enjoy? What really brings inner tranquility, internal gratification to you, not to me, but to you? Do you enjoy a person giving gifts? If they answer yes, then you know what their love language is. Or they may be an individual who enjoys acts of service, repairing something, helping to hang a picture, taking their car to get it repaired. But something that deals with service. Their love language may be, they need someone to say, you are doing a great job. I really appreciate you. Ask them, of all of these languages, which one really, really makes your day? They may say, you know what really, really calms me is just spending quality time. Now, quality time doesn't mean just being in the room with the person. Quality time means giving undivided attention to the person, connecting with things the person like to do. Maybe they like to play checkers. You say, well, I don't play checkers. It's not about you. It's about what they like. It may be about playing chess. Well, I don't know how to play chess. It's not a matter of you don't know how to play chess. They know how to play chess. So then it's an opportunity for them, in the quality time you spend with them, for you to learn what they enjoy doing. So in order to determine a love language, the simplest thing to do is to ask. That's even applicable to your own personal love language. Which of these apply to you the most? Now, there's some of this in each one of us, but there's one that is at the top of our list, that when I have this going on my behalf, I feel like I'm on the top of the world. I feel like nothing else really matters. When a person is physically touching me, nurturing me, when a person brings me a gift, when a person does something to help me by repairing something, when a person praises me, when a person spends quality time with me, that just puts me at the top of the list. Everybody has a specific love language. Don't guess at what a person's love language is, just ask them. And most of the time, people are able to convey what that love language is. Now, knowing the love language of others is the most effective approach to have a meaningful, emotional, intimate, and long lasting relationship with them. You've got to know them. The same is true in terms of being among people, managers, in ministry, in church leadership. We're supposed to know the people that we are serving, that we are guiding. And because of that, from person to person, there's an opportunity to really keep their hormone or their anxiety or their fret level in check, because we're now communicating with them according to their love language instead of according to our love language. In the book of 1 John, chapter 5, beginning at verse number 3, when you compare love language, sometimes people say, well, that has nothing to do with Christianity. It has everything to do with Christianity. Why? Because love is of God. We can know the words, but do we understand how to? We can say, well, the Bible says we're to love one another. We can quote the passage, but do we know how to? Look at the words of 1 John 5, verses 1 through 3. Whoever believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God. And everyone who loves him, who begot, also loves him who is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. Begot, it simply means brought forth from, arise from, originated from. So in 1 John 5, verse 1, it says, him who is brought forth from, he who arose from, he who originates, him who begot also loves him who is begotten. So God's Son arises from the love of the Father. We as children arrive from the love of the Son, the love of the Father. So if God, the Father's Son, comes from him, and we say we are of him, then we must understand love, because we all are in a love relationship. And the text says, and his commandments are not burdensome. You say, that takes a lot of energy. There's a difference in that takes a lot of energy and that becomes a burden. It is not burdensome. Think about this. When people are trying to communicate by meeting the love needs of one another and they are missing it, that's burdensome. That's exhausting, because out of frustration, you're saying, we just don't communicate. Well, it might mean we're trying to communicate using a love language for the other person that is not really their love language. So when we learn what the love language of this person is and what the love language of this person is, that's where the burden is relieved. It's not weighing us down. It's not severe. It's not cruel. It's not violent. That's what Gottfried was saying, is we can lower our anxiety rate by learning, by expending the energy to find out from the other person, what is your love language? In the text of Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, listen at what Jesus says. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus, what does that mean? You want to lower your hormonal anxiety rate, right? Right. Jesus said, learn to love the way I love. But the way I love you is first by getting to know the unique you. I died for the sins of all mankind. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. But I have learned each of your unique sins. I've learned each of your unique shortcomings. I've learned each of your unique aspirations for life. And I'm speaking to the whole, but I'm speaking to each of you as an individual. And when I do that, and you take my yoke upon you, you will find rest. You're going to find an intermission, a disruption, a cessation of motion. You're going to, what was frustrating is going to become a recreational thing. It's going to become pleasurable. Jesus says, because if you come to me, this is what I guarantee you. I know your love language. And I don't mind speaking your love language uniquely. And then he said, you'll find rest for your souls, for your psyche, for the seat of your feelings, for your desires, for your affections, how you process life, how you see life. Isn't that what we really want? And that lowers that hormonal escalation and it levels us out. Isn't that worth the investment? Find out what the love language of another person is. Just ask them. They may say, well, I don't understand what you're asking. Just ask this. What do you prefer? Physical touch, the receiving of gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time. What means the most to you? Just ask. And you may also have to say to the individual, ask me the same question. And I will tell you what my love language is. And then it becomes the responsibility, if I really want this love relationship, for the expenditure of energy to be invested in making sure that with all possible, we're going to communicate by speaking the love language of one another. I hope this series has been a blessing to you. I look forward to maybe you coming to visit with us Sunday morning at 9 o'clock in Bible study. Maybe worshiping with us Sunday morning at 10 o'clock in our Sunday morning worship. I'm extending this invitation to you. I don't know where you're tuning in today, from Facebook or YouTube or the church's website, But I would love for you to come and worship with us this weekend at the Prince George's Church of Christ, located at 7800 Central Avenue, right here in Landover, Maryland. I will see you back in class again Monday. Don't be late and don't skip class. God bless each of you.